Just two adjacent girls living in a lovely world. They took a podcast train going anywhere, but kind of specifically through Austin, Texas. Yeah, hook 'em horns.
Adjacent. Very near, next to, or touching. Our tailgate is adjacent to the left field fence. ADJACENT. Adjacent.
Welcome back, y'all. Welcome to Adjacent. We have a new, hopefully, somebody who's going to become part of our lives on the daily. She is meeting with us virtually, and we are so excited you are here. Shelly, who do we have today?
We put out to our adjacent connectors. We were like, hey, you guys, we need a Zodiac expert. And so Mandy, do you know Mandy personally?
Yes.
Okay, well, I grew up with Mandy's sister, Samantha.
Okay.
And Mandy, and we babysat Mandy all the time. And I ran into her event, and she's such a badass. She's such a fierce, bright light. And so Mandy recommended Danielle Knapp. And we're like, oh my gosh, okay. And so we reached out, we read about you and everything, and we were like, we need a Zodiac expert. We talk about it all the time, and we really know nothing about it.
We are not experts. We basically just Google when people tell us what their sign is. We Google and tell them what their personality traits are. And
I love it. Yeah.
usually they're correct. They're like, yeah, but I know it's a wide net that the people on Google what they share. So you get down to the specifics.
Yeah.
Yes.
And do you go by Knapp, or I know some people do a hard K on that last name?
Oh, no, you said it correctly now.
Okay.
Okay, before we deep dive, where are you from originally, Danielle?
Okay, yes. Well, first, thanks for having me on. I'm really excited to get into the different zodiacs and the planets and kind of how this can be in service of our lives.
Yes.
I grew up in upstate New York and then moved to Central Texas right before high school in Georgetown. So I went to Georgetown for high school and then went out to Texas Tech for my undergrad. Came back to Central Texas and went to Texas State for my master's in professional counseling. And I've just stayed. I fell in love with San Marcos, and now I'm getting to experience the other side of that, being a mom with 2 children and coming from the college side. It's a sweet little community.
Oh my gosh, that's a great. Well, how? I mean, it's fun how people get their way down here or people, get all around. So we've had a couple of fun friends from upstate New York. So
Yes. What part of New York? I'm eager to know.
Yeah, it's actually more overstate because it's Binghamton. It's like right on the Pennsylvania state line.
Okay.
And I grew up in a little town called Endicott, New York, right there off 17C highway.
Okay. Do they use it for any of the Hallmark movies?
I have no idea. Probably. It's beautiful. And it's interesting because my parents moved to that area for work. So we don't have any family there. All my family's in Michigan and Florida. And so once we moved, we went back a few times to see friends, but then it kind of fell off, and it isn't a place that we really go back to, although I've had a calling lately to be like, oh, it'd be so fun to go like drive my childhood streets and like show my husband and my kids, be like, this is where I rode my bike.
Oh, that would be fun.
What brought you on to Texas? What?
Yes, my dad is an engineer for IBM.
Okay.
So they had a big space there in Binghamton, and then I think it was like closing down or they were downsizing, and so he had the option of 3 different places, and they went with Austin.
Oh, good.
Yay.
Oh, good. Yay. How fun. In Georgetown. What a beautiful, beautiful town. Hallmark should use Georgetown for all of their, sunny holiday movies because it's beautiful and fun. And then San Marcos, I love San Marcos.
It's such a great place.
Jody and I are both Bobcats. Go Bobcats. And yeah. And my son does horseback riding at SOAR. So I get to go to San Marcos a lot and all the hiking trails and everything. It's so beautiful down there. I love it.
Yes, yes, it is. We would talk often about like, are we gonna, move to a different space? And it's like, oh, it's gonna take a lot to like pull us out of this community because the river and just it's yeah, it really has a
Pretty
special energy to it.
Good,
pretty
good.
special. And the college brings a whole different energy.
Youth. I mean, gosh, I love it when we call them the Bob Kittens and we're like, oh, the Bob Kittens are back. And it's like, you're like, what in style? What are they wearing? And they're just, I love seeing them about. The traffic gets kind of nuts, but when they leave, I mean, they're a huge portion of this city. So when they're gone, it's like, oh, we can just fly around as far as driving places, but then they come back and they really come back. Or it's like, oh yeah, graduation and move-in day. We stay far away from like, there.
Yeah, get out of town. When I was at Texas State, or Southwest Texas, because I'm old, I always did summer school because you had this quiet town to yourself. It was just dreamy to have the whole town to yourself, and it's like you have the river and there's no crowd. It's wonderful.
I think things have changed now. Kids go to school year round now, so but I hear what you're saying, Shelly. It was a sleepy little town back in the 90s. So
yes, that's funny. My husband was actually at Texas State when they made the name change, so he got to choose for his diploma if he wanted Southwest Texas or Texas State.
Oh. What did he choose?
I think he went with Texas State.
For the future. Yeah, future planning. So how did you and your husband meet?
We actually met through a mutual friend. So he is in the film industry. And so I was going to the Round Rock campus for a while and living back home as a boomerang. And then I moved to San Marcos and I was like, I need to make some friends. And I had met this woman named Paula, and she kept bringing up all these different ideas. She's like, we need to go to Mardi Gras on a girls' trip. And I was like, I've never been. I would love that. Yes. And then we get closer to the trip and she's like, oh, by the way, so-and-so can't come. Other gal had to cut out. She doesn't think she can make it happen. And it ended up being just me and her. And I'm like, oh, we're going to New Orleans to stay with your boyfriend and his roommate. And it's just you and me. And that's kind of strange. And I almost didn't go, but I'm glad I did because the roommate is now husband.
Oh, it was written in the stars.
That's lovely. Oh, I love that.
Yeah.
And I'm dying to know, what's your zodiac sign?
Oh, yes. Okay. So my sun sign is a Taurus and my moon sign is a Capricorn. And I pulled up y'all's charts.
Okay.
Because you put your birthdays at the bottom. So I was able to get in there and be like, oh, what's happening on these charts? And are you guys aware of your moon signs?
No, I don't even know what it means.
Okay,
I just know I'm a Virgo. And
yes, right.
Okay.
And so you both are Taurus moons. So you both have Earth moons. And that is one of my favorite planets to focus on as a therapist. And so, we hear about the sun side, and that's where people will say, well, I am. And there's been this, I love it because it's a great like stepping point into astrology to get people like curious about themselves or celebrate themselves of like, okay, this is maybe why I do this or have this kind of way that I react to things. But also some people really connect with their sun signs and other people are kind of like, yeah, sometimes it hits, but it doesn't. And there's so much more on the chart once you get deeper into it. That's like, oh, okay, I can see maybe why there could be a internal contradiction that comes up if we have like Jody, you're a Pisces sun, but then a Taurus moon. So you have a water sun, but an earth moon. Yeah. And while they're both kind of on this receptive yin feminine polarity, they are different. The earth is very like, what's real, what's true, let's make it rational, let's ground this down. And water is very swirly. And it's like, oh, I don't really need, who needs ground? We're swimming. And I love being able to discover those little pieces for myself and for other people to be able to go, okay, this is making more sense.
So why do you have two signs, the earth and the moon? I mean, the sun and the moon. Why do you have that?
Yeah. And so when we think about like a birth chart, which is a snapshot of the sky the moment you took your first breath, and that is called your natal chart, and that stays with you over your lifespan. And there are all of the planets in different signs that show up on your birth chart. And then there are conversations, lines that happen between these planets. And those are called aspects. And that gives a really, really much deeper personalized reading, because astrology is kind of like drinking from a fire hose. There's so much information. It's so layered. I feel the same way I do as about like our psyches and our hearts. Like we'll never get to the bottom of it. There, you can just continue to put layer upon layer and layer. And so the sun sign is something that we're kind of a solar society. And so it's great that, that's what got toted, but it really just takes one little sliver out, because you have all of the planets on your birth chart. And so everybody born within a 29 to 30 day window is going to share the same sun sign. But I'm sure other Pisces and other Virgos, and you're like, we're totally different. This is interesting. It's not a catch-all for everybody. While it can hit on some things, there's different nuance, and that shows up with the different planets. And so the sun getting the most kind of clout out there, it's the newspaper horoscope. It's the ones you see in the magazines and what people say I am, and they are saying that. And it's fascinating because it is our kind of waking consciousness. It's how we shine, like the sun shines. It's how we shine out in the world is our sun sign. And our moon sign is going to be our internal experience. So it's much more veiled. It's private. It's the dark. It's the nighttime. But it's going to be kind of those flash in the pan emotions that we feel, how we nurture ourselves, how we feel safe. And it's also going to determine kind of our temperament a little bit as well. And that can be so interesting to hold, that duality of like, okay, the sun and the moon and how they work together, or sometimes against each other, when we are having an emotional response, or we want to, present in one way, or people tell us they experience us in one way, but we're like, oh, I actually feel really different internally. And some people have a lot of access to their moon and their internal landscape, and others are much more in their kind of solar personality.
Wow, very interesting. So as a Virgo with I'm a Virgo, and having the Taurus, I mean, Jody, we're both Taurus. So what does it say about Taurus?
Well, we can ask the expert.
Yeah.
But Google had its own observations. But what makes a Taurus kind of a quintessential Taurus?
Yes. And so I like to, when I'm thinking about the planets and the zodiacs, and then there's also on your wheel, if you ever pull up your birth chart, it has like pie slices. Those are called houses. One way to kind of always think about the hierarchy of influence is the planets are like the actors. So they are the entity, and they have things that they govern, different areas of our life. And I'm a psychological astrologer, so I'm looking at the different archetypal energies and kind of how we bring this into who we are and our many different parts within. And so the planets are the actors, so they're the primary influence. And then the zodiac is like the script that they use to express themselves. And just like you think about some actors who have their like comfort role and they're like, yeah, they could do that, they don't even need to read the script. It's just who they are. It's probably how we associate them. They are so resourced, like who they are really matches these different roles. And then there's other script, or they stretch their skill set, and they're having to work maybe harder in a different role. And the same is true for planets in the different zodiacs. And then the houses, I like to say, just to toss this in, is like the stage, because those are different areas of life that they show up. And so the houses are the stages in which the planets are playing their dramas out. But that can be a great way to kind of think about it. And then when we think about the moon in Taurus, it's really, really happy there. It's a great container, because the thing about Taurus, it's an earth sign. So it's grounded, it's solid. And every element, there's 4 elements. So we have water, earth, air, and fire. And within those 4 elements, there's 3 different modes. And so we can have the 3 earth signs are going to be Capricorn, which is cardinal earth, Taurus, which is fixed earth, and Virgo, which is mutable earth. And these modes kind of give us another layer into the zodiac. And so cardinal starts off seasons. It's initiating things. At the spring equinox, we have Aries, which is cardinal fire. In the summer solstice, we have Cancer, which is cardinal water. And then Libra is the fall equinox, which is going to be cardinal air. And then Capricorn is cardinal earth, and that's the winter solstice. So they're starting seasons, they're getting things started. So that's the energy of the cardinal. Fixed, which is Taurus, that's going to be the middle of the season. It's the brunt of the season. So it's holding the stability. It's very sturdy. It does get a reputation for being stubborn because of its sturdiness. It takes a lot to budge, but I kind of see it as the train leaving the station. It's like, it might take a minute, and Taurus is going to be the slowest of the earth, and earth is the slowest of the elements as far as like pacing goes. But there's such a volition that once that train gets out of the station, it goes, and it's going to take a lot. Mhm. Yes. Yeah. And then the mutable for all of your Virgo planets, you have a lot of planets in Virgo, actually. That is mutable is the end of the season. So there's a real adaptability and flexibility of like changing things up, being creative. How do we get ready for the next thing coming kind of idea with the mutable signs. But Taurus, as fixed earth, with the kind of swirly nature of emotions and the way that emotions can feel really ungrounded, it's very complementary to have the Taurus zodiac script as this really strong container for the emotions that come in. There's a real ability to mentalize and detach in a healthy way of like, okay, I want to understand this. I want to ground this down. Like, what's reality? What's real? What do I do with this? How do I work with it? Versus maybe the flooding that can happen in some of the water signs where they're here to work with emotions. And so when we have a moon in water, it can be maybe just a little bit more of those kind of like rushing river rapids kind of feeling versus the Taurus moon being able to pull it in. But there's there can be a slow build, which is an interesting thing with the Taurus moon, and then it can just hold. And so sometimes the challenge can be like, oh, and how do we kind of soften this? How do we then let it go and move on to the next thing? Because a Taurus moon is gonna hold on to that, and it's gonna need to chew on it for a minute.
Yeah, and then I think about Shelly's sign, which is both earths and Venus. No offense, she could be really stubborn and very fixed, and definitely like she's a go-getter and like pushes forward. But she does have the fixed mentality, and I think no offense, Shelly.
No offense.
She gets like a little upset when people aren't functioning to her earth signs.
Which specifically can be Virgo. Virgo is a lot about structure and strategy. And okay, how do we
calendars?
Yes, lists, all of the list things, productivity, like it's the earth priestess. And it also has to do with kind of like health, and the body is often a thing that can come up with some Virgo planets as well. But Virgo, all of these zodiacs too have like their under stress, how they express, and then kind of the higher octave and the more maybe light-filled way that they express when they're unburdened or they're not feeling overwhelmed. And so the shadow side of Virgo can be that kind of type A, a rigidity, which is interesting because it is mutable, but out of the elements, because earth is the only element that holds its own shape, it's also the least mutable of like all the mutable. So I would say mutable earth is probably less flexible than even fixed air or fixed fire. But it does out of the earth. So it's the most kind of adaptable and willing to like change and be like, okay, let me think about that. How do I get creative with this and transform something into the next thing? And always on the go in that way with curiosity of like, let's keep adding this or let's change it in this way.
This explains everything.
And I have to say, I'm not offended at all. I have to ask you because you kind of brought it up. I handle feelings like it's a task and it needs to be managed and resolved. And I mean, a hanging chad of feelings drives me batty. And not addressing an issue. It's like, if there's an issue, I'm like, okay, let's get into it. Don't put it in your backpack and carry that shit around for 7 years and then bring it up in 7 years and tell me, hey, when I was 5, I had this feeling. And it's like, are you kidding me? Why? Do you think that's because of the Taurus in me? Is like, I'm like, Deal with this shit.
This is how she does her counseling service.
Yeah.
Oh,
When she goes to her counselor, she's like, I want to work on these 3 things today, and then I want to put it away and be done with it. And they're like, well, don't you want to, maybe
Go into
die
it.
this? No.
Why? Yeah.
no, let's EMDR the shit out of it and call it a day.
Yes. What a perfect therapy modality for you as well, because
Oh, I love
EMDR is
EMDR.
incredibly efficient.
Yeah.
So
I love
efficient.
Yes. Yes.
So is that the Taurus part of it? That's
Yes, I would
interesting.
say too. So when we think about, and tell me if this feels overwhelming, because I can always reel it back in if you start to be like
No.
blazing over. The other 2 planets that are important that are, well, there's 3 planets that are called the personal planets, and they travel really close to the sun. And so we get a really personalized profile when we think about the sun, moon, and then we think about Mercury, Venus, and Mars and what's happening with those. Once we start to get into Jupiter and Saturn, they're so far out. Like Jupiter and Saturn are the social planets. So pretty much everybody in grade school in your grade had Jupiter in that zodiac. So this is where teachers can be like, oh my gosh, remember those kids from 1998? Like they were off the charts. And it's like, oh, I wonder what was happening with their Jupiter and Saturn, that they were in their social interacting in a different energy. And then the generational planets are going to be Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto. And Pluto can stay in a zodiac sign for 22 years, depending on his different speed and where he's at in his orbit. And so when we think about the personal planets and we go towards Mercury, which is the fastest moving planet, that's the mind, and that's how we think about things. So this is going to be how we're mentalizing, how we're processing in the mind and up here in the cerebral territory. And then Venus is the heart space, and so she's how we're processing emotions. And she is going to also represent things like the feminine energy and how we are attracting things for manifestation, relationships, harmony. She's called the money planet because she's connected to resources and worth. And then we have Mars, which is the body and kind of that masculine energy, how we're taking energy, our passion, our sexuality, how we're kind of moving out in the world and like taking steps towards the things we want. And I say all of that because, Shelly, you have Mercury also in Virgo. And so there's a lot there that kind of comes together with the earth when you think about, you've got this earth moon, and then you have the earth sun, but then you also have the Virgo Mercury, who's going to contribute to kind of how you're thinking about things. And Mercury, so this again, another layer, Mercury rules Virgo and is also what they call exalted. He's in rulership and exalted. So Virgo is his kingdom. He is super strong there. He is super resourced, and he's able to do everything he needs to do in that zodiac sign. So when I'm listening through talk,
y'all are welcome. Y'all are all welcome.
Yes. And so that makes, when I'm listening to you right now, I'm like, oh, this is that really strong Mercury that the planets on your chart are like looking to you for like guidance. And he's kind of with his list, like, okay, you do this, you do that, you do this. And so I imagine he's pretty forward in therapy for you, kind of helping that process along.
This explains everything.
Yeah.
I'm like the opposite. And she and I are trying to work together, and it's like, whoa, she's really intense.
Yeah. Well, and Pisces being mutable water, I see that as like the ocean. It just goes and goes. It's beautiful, but it also is a sponge. It kind of can soak up everything around it. Boundaries, energetic and emotional, spiritual boundaries are usually the utmost important for planets who fall into Pisces. But you do have a very different profile because you have your Mercury, your mind is cardinal fire Aries. And so this is like sparks. It's like the match. And so it's like looking for like, okay, I have this idea, but then we need, which you have that beautiful moon that can go, okay, and how do we make this real? Because Taurus follows Aries, whereas Aries can just have these different idea sparks kind of just flying off, all the time. Like, oh, this is neat. This is neat. But if it needs something else to like have life and continue beyond the match. And so that's kind of where your mental processing comes in. But then your Venus, your heart space is also in Taurus. And so that's over there with the moon. And there's going to be, again, a real rational kind of grounded place to that, which can be wonderful for any of the Pisces watery pieces that could come in.
I mean, I feel so seen right now. I feel so, and I feel like you nailed her so much. She has this beautiful, creative heart, but she doesn't
No
always
follow
share
through.
it. Well, no, she doesn't share it. She needs the push, and
Mhm.
here I come.
Yeah.
Push.
Right.
And it's
Yeah.
like, but she has, but she questions it.
Mm.
Yeah.
And it's like, no, let's throw it out there. Let's see if it sticks. Let's give it a
Mhm.
try. It's so funny.
Right. Yeah, yeah, and that works so well. I mean, I just think about you guys together,
I
how well
know.
that works
Yeah.
because it's like, okay, we have this like cardinal energy with
Yeah.
the ideas or these like, could this work? And then we have these Virgo planets that are like, okay, we could strategize this. And then we
Yeah.
have these fixed planets that are like, and we can sustain, like we can keep this going because
Yeah.
we can hold. And so there's a real complementary exchange that happens.
I agree. I think we're definitely a yin and a yang
Mhm.
situation. She's the action behind the creativity, right? And so it works really well. And then I think our years of obviously being Irish twins kind of thing, just we know how to communicate with each other. Whereas if somebody were trying to do this and not be sisters and have these very different personalities, and it might be more challenging because we don't like, we had years of having challenges with our
Yes.
communication, and now it's like it's so easy, it's so much easier. So yeah.
Oh my gosh.
And it's one
Well,
of the
so
ways
no, go ahead. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say, it's one of the reasons I love astrology so much
Yeah.
is because, as a therapist, it's like, okay, we're coming in to work on the things that hurt and like, where's the pain? And we use that as the trailhead in often to look for what needs to be restored or healed or integrated. But then astrology comes in and it's like, let's celebrate who we are and the differences that come up between everybody. Like I'm at this point, pretty much only people who are into astrology are working with me therapeutically. But it's been so wonderful, even from expansion in my skill set as a therapist, to be like, my all of my earth is like, where do you feel this in your body? Like I'm always going into the body. And then I've had some clients where it's like, it really seems so soothing to just talk about it and they just want to chat about it. And then I get their chart and I'm like, oh, look at all this air. Like it's so cerebral, like it's all in the mind. And that is the thing. And it's like, okay, yeah, that is the medicine that they already are intuiting that's going to be helpful for them. Is maybe they don't need to go so deep into the body. Maybe, they don't need to go into the emotional depths that some of the water planets like to go into.
Right.
And I love that. I love the self-celebration and the ability to be curious about ourselves from a place that maybe isn't bruised and painful, that it can be fun and exciting to go to do that trailhead in. And of course, the more layers we get in with astrology, the more you're like, and here's the perfect timing of everything. Even the things I wouldn't choose to experience or would want to call back in any way, we can look at the chart and go, and what if this was part of the plan, like the whole time that this experience is sculpting you in a really intentional way?
Wow. So what opened this door for you? What opened the Zodiac door for you? What led you there?
Yeah, I mean, it is a long and twisting, winding path.
Well, it's written in the stars, Shelly.
Yes, yeah, I actually got tattoos of some stars and moons and stuff before I even got into this, and I was like, "How funny!" My body already knew.
Yeah.
But I have been in private practice as a therapist since I guess now a little over 7 years, and once doing that on my own, I'm constantly studying and learning and expanding my knowledge and skill set and kind of the eternal student in a way. And so once I started doing that, I began advanced training in a type of therapy called internal family systems, IFS. Are y'all familiar with that?
No.
Okay. It's this idea that we have multiple parts. Like we're not a mono mind. And you hear people talking about their parts, like, oh, a part of me wants to go do this, but a part of me wants to stay at home in my pajamas. And those are two parts of us that are taking care of us in a really specific way. And sometimes they go head to head. And so I got deeper into that modality, and I've always dabbled in the woo-woo spaces. So I'm always looking for therapy, academia, research, and data that's explaining this idea of a soul and our soul essence. And I love tying together the scientific and spiritual world and the way that they interact versus maybe polarized, which can sometimes be the rhetoric. But I feel like the deeper you go with both of them, the closer it's like, oh, here we are, same thing. And so that IFS drew me towards that. And then I've always been curious about this idea of being a Taurus sun. And so that had always kind of been there. And then having children and being curious about their signs and all of that. And I ended up having a birth chart reading, and she was a wonderful astrologer, and she was telling me all sorts of stuff. And I was just like, this is a lot. And of course, true to fashion, as soon as I get done, I order a bunch of books on the things she said.
Right.
Some of these books, and I open up one and I go through the first paragraph and I'm like, I don't understand any of this. Like it feels like another language. I'm having to go look up what words mean and then look up what those words means in order just to understand or even begin to try to conceptualize this sentence. So again, true to fashion, I found a college that gives out certifications and diplomas actually in astrology called Kepler College, and I enrolled in a 1.5 to 2-year study to get certified in that, and got to really get like a decade's worth of information just kind of shoved down, and then spent some time really integrating that afterwards. And I started to be like, parts and planets, and there's something that overlaps with this when we think about the planets from an archetypal kind of lens of, for example, the planet Saturn, he gets a bad rap. He is the planet that says no. It's delays. It's Lord of Karma. It's Kronos in the Greek mythology. So it's all about the timing of things. But it's about boundaries and restriction. And he often teaches us through lack. And it's also the father archetype. So there can be like a discipline and a pushing energy that comes in with that. And so we think about that. And then most people have some variation of a part that uses self-criticism as a way to motivate, like, you didn't do that well enough, you need to go redo it. Or, we know they can probably have some really negative self-talk at times too, but there's typically some sort of critical part that I bump into in people's systems. And then I see their birth charts. I'm like, how interesting what Saturn is doing. And then there seems to be this, it's very organic and unfolding in real time, but that there's this interesting kind of overlap that happens. And again, getting to come to it from different sides, where it's like we can celebrate ourselves and also recognize everything is perfect just as it is. No, you're not broken. You haven't been ruined or destroyed in any way. This is all here for you if it resonates, and we can follow it from that way, or we can go towards, let's look at the trauma and the trauma lines that you can see show up on charts sometimes, and be able to really honor that as well.
Okay, that makes so much sense, because I definitely have an internal critic all the time, and it tends to kind of say you can't do it, you can't, so that I just don't put myself out there. And I think like a lot of times I'll use my sign or that critic as my excuse to not try things and not do things, not put myself out there. Mm-hmm. And so how do you help, using your therapeutic background and the astrology, how do you help them like maybe not so utilizing those types of their horoscope or their astrology as the excuses, instead trying to use things as a springboard? How do you help them through those boundaries or those obstacles?
Mm-hmm. Right. Yeah. And so often, when we use the trailhead in towards a critical part that then kind of does a shutdown, and it's like, oh, what's happening for this part? What are the fears, that this part is holding? And then also that acceptance of, okay, if we're looking at a critical part and then we're looking on the chart and we're seeing, okay, let's say, like, for example, you have Saturn, if we're going to go with the criticalness in Gemini. And Gemini is mutable air, is endlessly curious, and it is always kind of gathering information. And the shadow side to that is sometimes some not being taken seriously. It can be superficial learning, where it's kind of skipping along and then caught off guard when it doesn't have maybe the depth to support the information that it's bringing forward or experience. And that can create some insecurities for some planets at times. But then when we look at the gifts of like, okay, but Gemini is also very fast moving, and that curiosity just doesn't, I mean, it's like infinite, the amount of curiosity that comes in through that script. And so this ability to learn a lot of things. And what if it's a gift to like skim the surface on a lot of things versus doing deep dives, becoming experts in areas which different zodiac signs can assist with that. And so it's like, oh, what if that is like the point? It's like, I just am supposed to be zipping around making these connections and I'm not supposed to be the expert. And what if that is the ticket? And then there can be an interesting unburdening that can happen with parts when they begin to recognize just because someone else is operating in a different way. And maybe it's a way we really respect and want to pull some of that in. What if our unique blueprint has a different plan?
Exactly. And I
with that.
I know. I think it's so important to recognize everybody has a different skill set. Everybody has a different way they're coming at it, and utilizing the resources of each. The very Virgo of me, I'm going to utilize those resources and go, you're good at this. You're good at this. Let's all, and value it. I value it. And I mean, if there were, I'm married to a Virgo as well, and that works beautifully for us, and it's great, and because that's my safe place, and I love that. And but if I was working with all Virgos, we drive each other nuts, and we would miss out on so much of the goodness in society because we don't think that way, and that's okay. We're allowed to be rigid with our calendars. It's okay.
Absolutely. And I feel like that self-acceptance is such a powerful practice to, if there is something that maybe isn't in alignment with our values or is creating a lot of undue suffering and stress in our lives, and we want to shift that in some way, the first step is always, okay, and how do I accept this and pull it in as it is presently? Because we know resistance, cutting out, that's never in the service of integration or any kind of lasting change.
Agreed.
We can bully ourselves into something, but it doesn't seem to have it, like that intrinsic motivation or long-standing.
Right. Then you're just doing things out of resentment.
Well, and from now on, whenever your self-talk gets negative, I'm like, hey, you need to shut down Venus. Come on. Let's get Mercury back in play. Let's get back in it. Just joking. I'm sure I didn't use the right terminology, but it's like
stressing that planet out right now.
Yeah.
How can I lighten the load?
Yeah. But the acceptance, I think, is the critical part. And I do hope I come across as accepting, even with my, rigidity. I'm like, I love a creative brain. I'm so thankful for, I'm in awe of it, but I think you need a little Virgo in your life to get the shit done and
right.
Publicized and whatever and shared. I'm dying to know, Danielle, what is your zodiac makeup?
Yeah, I have a lot of earth as well. Since I'm a Taurus sun, I have a Capricorn moon. So I have a cardinal earth moon. There's another aspect on the chart that you'll hear in the pop astrology spaces when they say, what's your big three? And they're usually talking about the sun, the moon, and then the rising sign, which is not a planet. It's an angle. And it's very sensitive because it's specific to your birth time and location. And so you have to have your exact birth time to get that. And it ticks degrees there's 360 degrees on the wheel, and it moves a degree every 4 minutes. And this is like your front door. And so this is people's first impressions of you. This is going to be, this is also begins often like your physical body appearance. There's whole like fields of astrology that study like face and rising sign, like things that overlap. It's very interesting. But that can give a really quick little profile. So if you guys later want to send me your birth times, if you can find those, I can tell you.
I have mine.
You have yours?
Yeah.
What is it?
I was born at 1:32 p.m. in Brackenridge Hospital in Austin, Texas.
Oh, in Austin. All right, I can tell you then what your rising sign is, since it is so sensitive. And that is it's an interesting third piece, because often if someone is like, oh, you must be a blah, 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 and you're like, no, I'm not. But then
Please say Virgo, please.
Yes, let me go ahead and edit.
That would be hilarious.
In real time, we're going to find out.
Definitely can't be that.
Okay, so at 1:32 p.m. in Austin. Okay, calculate that for you. Update the chart. Okay, so your rising sign, how interesting. It's a Cancer.
Oh,
and so
it's
23 degrees Cancer. And there's that, which means your chart ruler, because each planet has a kingdom, has its favorite script that we talked about. And so when we know our rising sign, we can find who is kind of in charge of our life's path. And the ruler of Cancer is the moon. And so your moon is kind of driving your life's ship, so to speak. In traditional astrology, they would say that that's your helmsman.
Okay.
And so it gives an extra kind of influence of that planet in your chart. And I am also a Cancer rising.
Oh.
Mm-hmm.
Our dad was a Cancer, and I'm fascinated by Cancers because I find them to be very sensitive, emotional, very loyal,
very family oriented,
very like empaths.
They just like criticism,
strangers,
and revealing personal life, Jody.
Absolutely.
Yes. And it is the crab. And so you think about, there is this hard shell that's protecting the most tender of flesh. And so there's, with Cancer, the shadow side of it can be sometimes some like victim mentality, or woe is me kind of place. It can happen when they're feeling really overwhelmed. But then in that higher octave, it is cardinal water. So it is the rushing river of emotions, and the soul that came here to learn about their emotions in a really present forward way. And so that's why the moon is the chart ruler, being our emotional space, is such a big player when it comes to the rising sign. And the rising sign is it can be, I've heard a lot of different interpretations around it, but that the front door is the one that seems to stand out the most. But I've also heard some astrologers say that your rising sign, you rise into it over your lifespan. And so once you start to get, around like in your 40s or late 30s, you start to really embody or feel more of that zodiac script come in. And because it's not a planetary body, it's just a point, transiting planets, when they hit the rising sign, you'll feel sometimes like an infusion of that energy from the planets in the sky that are constantly moving.
Oh my gosh. Okay, well, you have to plug yourself now, but I have to ask another question. When somebody comes to you for therapy,
yes,
are you like, I need all of this information before you walk in the door?
Well, I have it all in my paperwork. And like I said, typically people who are seeking me out at this point are wanting the merging of the two disciplines.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
So I have it in my paperwork of like, are you open to this?
Yes.
Are you accepting new clients? Right.
I do have a couple spaces for therapy clients for people in the state of Texas, but also I also offer the service of birth chart readings. And sometimes that's just a one-off. People will come in and we'll just do the, hour and a half, 2-hour session, and I record it and send it to them with their birth chart. We go deeper into, especially, we didn't get into this today, but the way the planets talk to each other is really
you're
impactful.
You're gonna have to come back.
I'd love to.
I need to do.
Oh my gosh, this is so fascinating.
I love that it's so energizing, and like I said, I could talk about astrology all day, and if it's getting people curious in a playful, open way about themselves, it's like, this is the ticket. My private practice is called Start Within, and that's the thing I want to scream from the rooftop, like, start within. Like, we can't offer fruit from a fruitless tree. Like, we have to grow that ourselves in order to offer it out. And I love that therapy can be intimidating, but astrology can be fun. It's like, I'm going to give this to so-and-so and they can go, and, we can have a whole, often it's incredible, not often, always, it's incredibly rich and deep and meaningful to every single astrology client I've ever had.
I love it. So start with then, and we'll share that on everything. And you offer both of those. Somebody that is interested in learning more about astrology, what would you recommend they like
how you get into it?
Yeah, like what?
And I will share too, I have a little YouTube channel that I just started
Oh, good,
a month and a half. It's starting to grow a little bit. So if people want to follow along on that, I try to get a video out every week about what's happening in the sky, just to kind of give if you're feeling this wild energy that like popped up last Monday, there was some intensity happening collectively in the stars for us. And so I have that available. And, I always say start with your planets. If we know our sun sign, find out your moon sign, because there can be such a treasure trove in there of what does this moon sign mean? And, looking into what the different planets represent, archetype wise. There's tons of videos on YouTube. There's lots of books. My favorite book I actually have it right here, for getting into the birth chart, once you find out your birth time and all of that, is this it's called Understanding the Birth Chart by Kevin Burt, and I feel like he does a really great job going into using really accessible language, because like I said, some of those books I bought after my first birth chart reading were like, what is this? Because it is its own language.
Right.
So it's kind of, if you were thinking about learning a new language, you would start with the real basics. Hi, hello, where's the bathroom? You're figuring out these really basic things. So with astrology, it's going to be keywords that you're going to be learning. And so you start to associate keywords with planets, then zodiacs, and you start to like almost mad lib out these sentences. And it's like, okay, here we are.
Here we are.
What's your YouTube channel? What's your YouTube?
It's Danielle Knapp Astrology.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Very exciting.
And my astrology website is just danielleknapp.com. And then my therapy website is startwithintherapy.com.
Okay. Very exciting. Wow. Thank you so much.
Yes.
It's very fascinating. We start most of our interviews off, even if we don't discuss it, we look up people's zodiac signs.
Oh, I love it.
And so we just want to know what we're walking into. Kind of like
kind of informs a little.
Yeah,
absolutely.
We didn't even know about all the suns, the moons, and the rising.
I know.
Now I'm like, can you give us all your information?
Right.
Yeah.
Great. And that gives you a quick little, it's a really efficient way to kind of get like a more of a personalized profile. And it's also so powerful too for any of your listeners who are parents, like to know our children's moon signs, how they desire to be nurtured. And then often we are the first people nurturing them. So it can be.
Boy, I could have used that with raising.
Yeah. But we lean into the 5 languages of love, and we talk about it a lot in our family. But it's like, it's hard. And I think for kids, it's hard for them to figure it out, how to verbalize it or whatever.
Yeah.
But for, to go, okay, now I mean, it's already pre-existing. We can find out. Wow.
Right. Yes. My daughters, I have one in junior high and one in elementary school, and they know, of course, they're always listening to me going on. And so they know all of their stuff. And
that's amazing.
Teacher thing like, Posey was just going on about her Leo moon. And I'm like, because we talk about that because it's fire. So we're like, oh, here we go. We're on the rocket ship for a minute. But then it goes away quickly versus I have a Taurus moon daughter, and it's a slow build. But when we are there, it's an endurance game. It's a marathon of like, be here for a minute. Different than little sister who can just go up and down real quick.
Oh, yeah.
Well, that's
very, very
so helpful. That would have helped us so much if, what worked for our kids growing up. So I highly recommend this.
Your daughter's name is Posey?
So cute.
I have a picture of Posey.
Oh my gosh.
That's
well
so
done.
cute.
Well done on name. I love Posey.
Those are great.
So much fun. Oh, good job. Well, welcome to the Adjacent family. We love you. If you have anything you want to share, we're down for it.
Yes.
Come on anytime.
Yeah, we can even do short things where you could just say, "Oh, guys, watch out! The Mercury's in retro." I don't know what that means. but
Oh, well, I have enjoyed this so much.
Yeah.
well, thank you.
It's so energizing. It gets me very excited every time getting to introduce some new things to individuals and then see the light kind of get brighter within.
Yes.
So happy to return at any time in the future.
Yes.
But and big thanks to Mandy Silver Johnson for sharing
Yes.
this and really appreciate it. Love the Silver Sisters, big fan.
Big fan.
And they've always been very woo woo, even when
Mhm.
Samantha and I were and I think she was the first one to talk about Zodiac signs with me when we were in elementary school. And
Yes, I love it. I think last time I saw Mandy IRL was at a moon circle. So
I love that. What's a moon circle?
well, there's this there was a group meeting out, and they actually still do meet. I haven't been in a hot minute, but they're out in Wimberley. There's a yurt, and they'll do like full moon. I think their website is itsavibe.earth.
Okay.
Different classes and stuff like that out there. Very woo woo. Some of it goes real far into the galactic, and others are a little bit more kind of maybe grounded in the body or apothecary things and herbs.
Okay. I saw her post on the last time.
Okay.
Her social post, but it's when there's a full moon, they gather.
Yeah.
Okay, Jody, that's what Gertie and Krista always do. And
Yes.
and they're so drawn to it. They're like, it's like outside of their body, just pulling them to,
It's such a beautiful way to connect with
Oh my gosh,
cycles
it's so
and
lovely.
rhythms and, that we're part of a cosmic story that's unfolding all the time. It's kind of like brings you into that right size of, and then of course, once you know your own moon sign, you're like, oh, do I feel the full moon in Taurus more, which is going to be the full moon that we have in December. It's a Taurus full moon. And then the new moon happens in the zodiac sign. So that happens in the, late April, May area is when the new moon, when they're together, the dark of the night, and then the moon gets full and bright, full moon, and then it works back to being on top of each other where you can't even see it.
Oh, wow. I cannot wait to deep dive this.
Go and go and go forever.
I'm gonna burger the hell out of this information.
I love it. Yes. Oh,
Thanks, Danielle. You're so lovely.
This is so fun. Thank you.
Oh my gosh.
me.
All
Thank
right.
you. Texas.
Yeehaw.